we're back with some of our great friends of the show. Wes Jones and Lisa Hampton join us with Homehelper Consultants of Keller Williams Realty, their #1 producing short sale team in the nation. And then Lisa, who, lead buyer specialist. Nice to see you guys. How are you?
Doing great, Ben. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, you had your friend Kendra Todd here a few minutes ago. You guys got to see her on the way out.
Yeah, it was great to see her.
You guys, I guess when you're at the top of Keller Williams, the top of the real estate world, I guess you're at the top.
They all hang out together. They're all friends.
They drink together.
That's kind of what happens.
This market will lead you to that, Ben. You should know that.
It's true. So, guys, I want to talk a little bit about, as I said, I don't think the people we have on our show are the least expensive people to hire. We don't really do a lot with discount people. We do people who actually are some of the best professionals in Seattle who'd give that great experience. And, Lisa, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the market for buyers. And it is more important than ever right now to hire the right agent because it's not as simple as it used to be.
It's not. And last time I was on the show, we talked a lot about what was happening in the market with buyers. There's multiple offer situations going on out there. When you're hiring somebody who does this as a part-time job or just fills in a couple hours a week doing this, they're not sure the right questions to ask of the listing agent to even have a shot at winning in a multiple offer situation. And it's with short sales too, and our team specializes in that on our listing side. With those, your agent who's representing you as a buyer has to know the right questions to ask. Because a lot of times short sale agents don't know what they're doing. The negotiators may not know what they're doing. They don't understand what's going on with the process. So you can get mutual acceptance with the seller, and it will never go anywhere because the negotiators don't have a clue what they're doing. And your agent has to know the right questions to ask.
And what are some of those questions that need to be asked?
With short sales, you need to find out who is negotiating it. How many transactions have they successfully closed? What is their ratio for closing? Also, how many liens are on the property? Who are they with? Questions along those lines so that you understand the underlying factors.
The real issues that you're going to be dealing with.
Yes.
Because it's not necessarily the property. It's not necessarily, do I like it and can I buy it?
No. And a lot of times on short sales, the listing price isn't necessarily the price that it's going to go for. And that's why you have to be able to ask the questions to have an idea. It may be listed at $200,000, but in reality, the bank's going to want $225,000. And you need to be able to know that up front so your buyers have a chance and don't wait 4 months and then end up not getting the house.
Do you see a lot of people, are buyers still out there making offers on short sales? I mean, it's kind of gotten this bad rap over the last, couple of years. And now do you see buyers starting to go, I guess that is where I'm going to have to go to get the house I like?
Absolutely. And a lot of buyers don't rule out short sales. They're not for everybody. It's for people who definitely can wait. We were talking about this actually right before the show, is that you have to have some time that you can wait to buy the house, but you can get some really great deals out there. Again, you just have to hire the right professional to represent you.
Otherwise, you put yourself in position, and we see it too from the mortgage side. People fall in love with a house, but they don't work with the right people, and now the house they fall in love with, they actually can't purchase.
Right. And it really isn't even just with short sales. It's any sale. You have to have the right person.
It is a confusing market. It's not like you just go write the contract and it's, woohoo, we're all done. Whether it comes from the lending side or the short sale side. I know, Wes, you guys do a ton of short sales. You must talk to agents all the time that really probably shouldn't be even representing a buyer in the transaction.
That's right. Well, Lisa hit it. You got to be asking the right questions, and if you don't have that knowledge, you're not setting your client up for success. That's for sure. So, that's something we try to do a good job. If I can tell somebody's not as educated as they should be, we're certainly going to try to walk them through that and set the expectations up so they know what they're in for.
And so when you guys start looking at buyers, is there different questions that you ask buyers now than maybe you had in the past to prepare them for what they're about to go through?
I think the first question is asking if they're competitive. Because you can't be...
Are you willing to play for the Seahawks? Pete Carroll says you got to compete. Number one, right?
Pretty much that's it. You live in Seattle, you got to be able to play like a Hawk, right?
Absolutely. Hey! I like it.
But you have to be competitive. You have to be willing to step up to the plate, make a decision pretty quick. So that's one of the first things. But then also really, what's your time frame? What are your expectations for this purchase time? And it's qualifying them as well. Making sure we can help them with what they want.
What do you mean by time frame?
With short sales, it's going to take a little bit longer. So if you have somebody who is renting and their lease is up at the end of July, short sale is probably not going to be the right thing for them. We can't guarantee that we're going to find them a short sale and have it close in 60 days. And I don't want anybody to be homeless based on.
I heard they're moving in with you.
That's right. Just hey, come on down.
Yeah, come on down. We're going to wait for that short sale approval.
You've heard of the Hampton Inn, right?
There you go. So, I mean, that becomes a really big piece of this, right? Then when people are going to buy a house is what is their time frame? And I guess, are they competitive? I think those are two very key questions, because if your time frame is short and you're not competitive, you're probably not. I mean, you have to be competitive in this market.
You have to be.
Yeah, you do. Lisa's really seeing it. We're certainly seeing it on the listing side of things. Even with short sales, we're still seeing, multiple offers right now. We might not be seeing as many multiple offers as some of the traditional, sales have, but, we're still seeing them come in. They're having to be very competitive. And, just this week, we had a couple short sales go over, over list price because they got bet up, because the market is that competitive right now, just because we're seeing that real lack of inventory.
And so when you deal with that lack of inventory and unprepared buyers, it's really a bad experience for everyone. I mean, everybody involved, right? And that's tough to deal with.
And that's where, as a buyer, that's where you come in and you get disappointed, because you have expectations that weren't set from up front. You're not prepared to go into what the market actually is. So,
and then if they're not prepared, then you end up in a position that, hey, you think you're going to go buy a house, and you can't get it. So, there's that element of disappointment when people don't understand what is going on in a market and what they can do in that market. So, certainly that education piece that you give people from the very beginning is a huge asset to them, to a client, because they have the ability to know what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly. And they have to know up front. And that really, one of my first questions when I meet with people is are you competitive? So that they know. You can't go in.
What do they say? Are you competitive? I won state football champion 94.
Most of the time people understand it.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that just gets their attention right away so that they understand. You can't go in. You don't have 4 days to decide on a house anymore. You have to be willing to go in and make that decision. And being prepared up front for that.
And it is tough to do. I mean, you're buying a home. You're buying a place to live. Wes, on the sales side, we have started to see the FHA Streamline Refinance, which is just rolling out here in June 11th. And you had talked a little bit about, before we came on, about FHA short sales, people who have FHA loans, and now maybe they don't want to keep their property anymore.
Well, yeah, there is something called the FHA pre-foreclosure sale program, and it's actually something that's been around since the 90s. So this is really, this is pre-short sale mania, short sale being, adjective, that people understand. And it really, came around. It's a government-backed program, and it's the only way to do a FHA short sale. And one of my pre-qualifying questions always is, hey, do you know when somebody calls in and is asking about short sale, help, hey, do you know who the investor is? I go, well, I'm not sure. I go, is this FHA by any chance? Say, yeah, this was. And say, oh, I actually get excited to hear that. And the reason being is there's a program for it. And it's outlined, it's very specific, it's very direct. And if you follow the guidelines, you can essentially have a pre-approved short sale, that follows guidelines, timelines that the bank and the servicers, have to follow. And if they are not following them, you can actually get HUD involved. And they will hold that servicer accountable to their guidelines.
What are some of those guidelines? Is it different than just a regular short sale? I mean, because it's insured by the Federal Housing Authority.
It is essentially insured by the government. So, there are guidelines that they have to follow. Most important.
Probably like 400 pages, like lots of guidelines.
You know what? It's actually a 3-page guideline that you can go to. And if you were to Google,
the government did something in 3 pages or less. That's incredible.
It is incrediable. It's amazing. I'm not making this up. And if you went and Googled FHA pre-foreclosure sale program, I know you're all going to.
Those people in their car, they're right now.
But it's the first link that pops up, and it's 3 pages, and it goes through the guidelines, and it really goes over timelines. How quickly the bank has to get back to you. It goes over acceptable values. It goes over who qualifies for this program. And it really, really lines it out. And, some of these new government programs or these cooperative programs that we're talking about last time I was on air actually, take this FHA program and they've modeled their newer programs with a twist. So HAFA actually follows the FHA pre-foreclosure sale program. Some of these other cooperatives from Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, they've actually taken this original program and done their own updated spin off of it.
So that puts people in a position, I guess, to make it easier. Is it decision making? Does it make it easier to kind of say, hey, I have an FHA loan. I know what I'm going to go through should I decide to short sell my property?
Yeah, and that's why I said, I don't get excited that people are going through this, but, when somebody does say they've got an FHA loan, I'm excited because I know exactly what it's going to look like for them. This maps out very well for them. What is going to be expected. So this is really not a tool for somebody to get out of a home. We've talked about strategic defaults. FHA really doesn't look kindly upon those. But for somebody that, is in a hardship situation and for somebody that can show more outflow than inflow, there's a really good chance that they're going to qualify for the FHA pre-foreclosure sale program.
We're here with Wes Jones and Lisa Hampton, guys. We do have to go to break, but it sounds to me that this has a lot to do with working with your group is about preparation. It's about preparing people, whether it's understanding the buyer's market they're going into or understanding what type of short sales are potentially available, what the system and process is going to be to set people up for success.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And the more that you can do up front working with your clients and the more that you can do preparing, other agents what to expect, the better chance for success, we all have.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. Coming up, Memorial Day is just around the weekend, and hey, that's when people start going outside again. I know that we all of a sudden went outside this weekend and said hi to our neighbors for the first time in 6 months. They're doing some projects on their house. Are you thinking about doing projects on your house? Stay tuned. Paul Coker is going to give you a little insight as to what it might mean to get the most prepared for your project. My name is Ben Brashen. You're listening to Brashenomics.